let's look at the dragon here. The main approach, and by the way, I've given these categories as a way of describing the animal. So the main approach to me of the dragon is both defensive and offensive. The dragon has the ability to be both. Its key attributes, which we've talked a little bit about already, are the spirit, the unity of the body and mind coming together, and you see that in the movements, the intelligence and courage, and the overall unpredictability of the dragon. If we think of it in terms of Hung Gar, we see mainly the movements, the complex movements involving the whole of the body, which usually involve complex footwork. And we see that in Kuen Bok, which the picture down below will depict. Now, the character of the dragon is it's able to emulate any or all of the other animals, and therefore it can use the power of other animals for its own advantage. And it has great internal strength. And the internal strength, the loilek, is needed to produce the power that we see within Hung Gar. It's not just the power of the tiger. It's the internal power that's a very important part of understanding in learning Hung Gar. Its strategy is, it actually is the master of all strategy and tactics, and it's able to counteract the strategy of the other animals. And as I said before, the spirit is the sun, which represents those things. So the dragon has certain qualities, capabilities, strategy, and character and attributes that the other animals don't have. Okay. And so the next one I'll talk about is the snake. The main approach of the snake, again, is offensive and defensive. It basically is not interested in fighting. It's interested in killing something for its food, or it doesn't necessarily fight for territory and this sort of thing. Its key attributes are it's very deceptive, it has tremendous energy and speed, and it has great precision. When the snake strikes, it knows exactly what it's striking at. It has very much endurance, and it has good ability to have memory and intention about what's in its own environment and what's happening and sensing what's going on. Its character is its extremely fast reaction and the ability to strike vital areas in its prey. It's very supple and evasive, yet if you provoke the snake, it can become explosive and attack. Its strategy is more on evaluating what's happening around it. It doesn't necessarily want to attack everything and give up its venom. It only wants to give up its venom to something that it sees as a threat or prey. Otherwise, it's got to make more. So it needs to evaluate the situation. And its strategy is very straight and direct. It attacks in a straight line and very directly, but it's also able to change direction very, very quickly. And so if we think of these things in terms of Hung Gar, we can see that some of these qualities are very important. When we ourselves perhaps want to get into a fighting situation, we can think of these things as being very, very helpful in certain situations. We may be fighting a big person, very strong, big muscles. What are we going to do? We can't, and that person to us may represent the tiger. We can't become like the tiger. It's not possible. So we need to think of other animals, other characteristics that we may want to have. And by the way, this is not only limited to martial arts. We may be somewhere in life. We may be in a meeting at work. We may be in a group of people, or we may be in some sort of altercation in the street. And we recognize what's happening. It may not be fighting, it may not be kicking and punching, but now it's all done with words and positioning and posturing. And we may recognize what's going on. And we may think, oh, okay, we need to evaluate this situation. We need to be a little bit flexible. We don't want to give up and become sort of overpowering. So we may choose to react like one of the animals here, like the characteristics that we have learned from the animals. So let's move on to the tiger. It's very offensive and aggressive in its approach. It has extremely good power and strength and the ability to evaluate what's happening. It's very cunning and has good instinct and extremely good stamina, and is able to act on things immediately. As you would expect for someone with great power and strength and domination, it's able to do all that. And you will come across these sort of people as well, as I mentioned before, in real life. So the character of the tiger is it's very dominating and can control situations. It's very explosive and direct resolution of things. If something's occurring, it's going to jump in. It's less likely to consider all of the aspects of what's happening. It knows its own strength and character, and it's likely to just attack and just have the whole thing finished. So its strategy is one of a direct approach, using its own power and very strong stances and very strong awareness of its own physical capability. I'm not going to talk about the spirits there because we talked about that before. But they, as you can see in all these cases, they match the animal. The leopard is an offensive animal. It has great speed. It's got this whip-like approach, this suppleness. You know, in martial arts, we talk of gong yao, which is hardness and softness. And the leopard has both, but we tend to see it as a predominantly soft approach, unless at the last moment it's attacking something. And we do try to emulate this in a lot of our Hung Gar training. And so that's why I give it this whip-like definition. If we look at the tiger, the leopard movements, we see that they're very fluid as well. In Hung Gar, we think of the 5 animals, that particular form that we play. If you consider the movements of the leopard, they're very whip-like and relaxed, but there's still power. So the leopard has tremendous willpower and cunning and the stealth that we talked about before. It has the character of being able to overwhelm the opponent, and it does this with multiple attacks. I always use the analogy of the house cat when I talk about the leopard. The house cat or the domestic cat, if they're not that well domesticated and you pick one up, all you see is their feet moving extremely quickly. You don't know what they did, but when you let them go, you've got all this blood running down your arms. And so they attacked you multiple times with their claws. You had no idea what they did. They turned their body, they were very whip-like, and all of a sudden, you come out not so good. This is how I see the leopard. They've got this ability to do all these surprise attacks and do tremendous damage extremely fast. And that's why their strategy is this ability to have rapid multiple strikes to many areas of the body. And you see that in Hung Gar when we play the leopard, and very, very fast footwork. And so that's why I say the stealth of the leopard and the willpower and the will to act. So then the last one is the crane, and its main approach is one of defensive and evasive. I would not see the crane as an offensive animal, although in its defense, it is able to be offensive. And there are some videos on YouTube of cranes fighting tigers. If you ever have the chance to watch them, they're worth watching, because in the end, the crane wins. May not kill the tiger, but the tiger gives up. It is not able to work out what to do. And the key attributes of the crane I see as its grace and agility, its tremendous balance, and its ability to plan, and the intuition that it has, and obviously its awareness of the spiritual side of things, which it gets from that the spirit. And so if we look at Hung Gar, we can see the graceful. We aspire to have our movements look graceful and agile, and we try to have good balance in what we do. And we pick this up from the crane. The character is, as I mentioned earlier, it's evasive. It's got the ability to strike very fast and then recoil, ready to strike again. And it has these penetrating counterattacks. So what I see in the crane is this defensive positioning in the form of an attack. So its defense is attack. And we see that. We see that in many martial arts, and particularly in many people in martial arts. If we consider people like Bruce Lee and Tony Jaa, if you look at their movies, you will see their defense is attack. And they act that out very, very eloquently. So I see that in the crane as well. And it's a very patient and watchful animal. It's not looking for a fight, but it has very good self-control. Again, all attributes that we aspire to have in Hung Gar. Its strategy is to maneuver the body, to use angles for focused attacks. It's very good at sidestepping and fast footwork. So that's how I see the crane. And so in summary, this is everything that I just went through. We can see that throughout the 5 animals, if we can look at their key attributes and character and strategy and apply that to what we do and how we learn and what we learn in Hung Gar, and also in understanding ourselves and the experiences we have in life and how we choose to be under certain situations, then I think this is all very relevant. And And this, after all, is all about those 5 spirits. And so that's how I relate the 5 spirits to the animals, and how I relate the animals to ourselves in everyday life and in learning Hung Gar.
Yeah, it's not just about, not only about the Hung Gar practice, but you can, as you say, you can also substitute these features to yourself.
Yes.
In terms of personality.
Yes, exactly right.
And then you can see the pros and cons, or the good or bad things, and then make the good balance.
Yes, that's exactly. And when
very useful.
It is. And then further down the line, when we talk about the 12 bridges, we can see even more, because the 12 bridges representing mainly intentions about what we're doing. And then you put the 12 bridges together with the 5 animals, and you can see a lesson in life and character development just there.
Yes, right. 5 animals is just about the beginning of the Hung Gar system. We have 5 elements, 12 bridges.
Yes.
More, so that's
okay. That's right. Yes, there's quite a lot there for people to take in and try to understand. And it does require personal reflection by looking at these things and then say, okay, now we understand the qualities of some of these animals. So when we're learning Hung Gar and our Sifu is teaching us what this animal does, these particular movements, then we should each try to associate what we're learning with these particular things and try to act it out as best we can and take on that spiritual awareness of those movements. So I hope that explains.
Okay, thanks a lot.
And gives people something to delve into in a deeper way.
Great, that's great. Thank you, Sifu.
Okay, thank you. So we look forward to the next session.